Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationships, and it's by user Armor of Inferno. My sister-in-law's 32 female family has nowhere else to turn and wants to move in with my 36 male family because her husband, 32 male, can't keep a job. My sister-in-law, 32 female, has been married for 10 years to a guy, 32 male, who just can't keep a job. He's had a string of bad luck, but he's also a lazy and uncontentious worker who blames everyone else for his problems. He has bad hygiene and doesn't help to parent their 3 young children. He's changed fewer than 5 diapers the entire time he's had kids. His wife, on the other hand, works hard to take care of her family. They've lived in another state with my mother and father-in-law for 4+ years, but my father-in-law just lost his job and had to move out of state. Now they've got to leave his house, which they trashed, but have no money and nowhere to go. My brother-in-law's family won't take him, and even though I vowed to never live with my brother-in-law again, I just can't let my sister-in-law and her 3 kids live on the street. She's constantly frustrated with him but won't leave him. I live in a big city and job opportunities are out here, though it might not be work he wants to do. If he could get a job and save up for a few months, they might be able to get a small apartment. The problem is, I just don't trust him. My wife, 36 female, is pressuring me to let them move in, but I have serious misgivings. I also work from home, so having 3 kids, including a toddler and a preschooler, at home during my workday could cause challenges. Do I have any option but to take their family of 5 into my house? Has anyone been in this situation before? How do I deal with this? If he's not a renter, can I throw him out if he's not meeting my terms to live in my house? Ah man, OP, this is a really tough situation. The first question I would ask you is, are you in a position to actually take them in and help them out? I mean, there is a family of 5 that apparently won't contribute to anything, so you are going to have to support them and pay for their everything. Now, regarding the specifics of your brother-in-law, I personally, with what you've told us, wouldn't trust him at all. If he's proven to be lazy, can't keep a job, and blames everyone for his problems or shortcomings or whatever, then that doesn't scream to me that I can trust this person to actually follow through on any plan regarding their own life, right? Now, I understand that your wife really wants to help her sister out, and maybe that's what you guys should do. And at the same time, lighten the burden that taking their family would be. Just don't take him in. You can take your sister-in-law in and the kids while he looks for a job. Now, of course, in this scenario, you would also need to take a look at the financials. If you've got no money problems, sure, go ahead and help them out all you want. But if money is tight or just enough for your household, then they are going to have to pitch in or something. In the end, OP, and this might sound a little harsh, but your family comes first. That means your wife and your children. And then you can go ahead and try to help everybody else, as long as they're willing to help themselves. At least, that's my rule. I admire drive and have no issue helping people that have drive, but parasitism is something I don't like. But that's just mean old me. And what about you guys? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Pianoceto says, you know the answer to this. He's a barnacle. Don't be his ship. Your sister-in-law has to make some difficult decisions about her relationship and her children, and it's not going to happen until people stop enabling her sponge of a husband. If he moves in, he's not leaving. And OP responds, this is great advice. Do you think I should offer again to take her and her kids in, but exclude her husband? If I do that, I think I'll be supporting her family for a long time, but on the other hand, they simply have nowhere else to go. KitKat2401 says, unless you're prepared to support, feed, be a babysitter, and an ATM machine for them for the rest of your life, I would put your foot down. If there is no choice but to let them stay, get a legal document drawn up which explicitly states they have to help with food, bills, and expenses. Not only this, but also has a set date by which they have to be out of your house or they will be forcefully evicted. This means they might be more likely to try save for a new place to live. Good luck, OP. Purse14 says, don't let these losers into your house. They'll never leave, they'll trash your home, and they'll use you. Direct them to seek out social services that can help them. You are allowed to have the sanctity of your own home. Good luck and stay strong. Additional information from OP. I've put the option to take her and the kids on the table before, and it is still something I'd do if she agreed. The problem is that she won't go for it. Add to that the fact that if they separate, I'll be supporting her and her kids for years to come because she's just not capable of supporting her family by herself. And regarding the living situation, we have to put 2 of her kids, 7 male and 4 female, with my daughter, 7 female, in her bedroom. The adults and their babies would go into the guest room, which is right next door to my office. Everything but their clothes would have to go into off-site storage because we don't have the space for any of it. Okay, well, the community was a lot harsher than I thought they'd be, but they had good points, and apparently OP is very open to listening to them. So how about we move on to the first of 2 updates that we have for this story. A month ago, I posted about my sister-in-law's family having nowhere else to turn and needing to move in with us. I got some great advice, and I'm back for more. As predicted, her family, 32 female, 7 male, 4 female, 1 female, had to move in with us, male 36, female 7. But I was firm and wouldn't let her barnacle husband, 32 male, move in. He's staying with his family in a neighboring state. He still doesn't have any solid job leads, but won't accept advice to improve his resume or LinkedIn profile. Things have been stressed from the moment they got here. My wife and I unloaded their moving truck while barnacle husband slept, mostly because I knew we'd be doing all the work while he just got in the way. I only expected him to unload their van, and I had to keep telling him to do it. He scattered his crap all over my driveway, and eventually we packed all that into the garage for him too because it was starting to rain. I think you can see why I don't want him living in my house. Since then, we're trying to settle in with 4 extra people in our house, but it has been stressful for everyone. Having only 1 kid myself, I forgot how much babies cry. There hasn't been a night where the kids haven't woken me up. It is harder than I remember it. The little annoyances add up. I work from home, so having screaming children outside my office door really distracts me from work. My garage is full of their stuff instead of my car. Kids' TV is on all the time, and there's a cacophony of sound stressing me out. My sister-in-law also resents that I won't let her barnacle husband live with us, and there's a silent cold war brewing between us. And then there's the financial side of having all these extra people in my house. We went from a comfortable life to facing a serious monthly deficit. My wife, who has been a stay-at-home mom, is now looking for a job. On top of that, I feel like crap with all the frustration I have and the guilt that follows. I feel like I should shoulder this with silent resolve and should be happy to provide for them, so when I get upset, I instantly feel bad about it. I want to help them financially too, because they just make bad financial decisions, which is very easy if you don't have any income. Her van's getting repossessed, and I feel like it's up to us to solve that for them, even though I suddenly am depleting my savings to pay my electric bill. The guilt is just adding to my stress, so I'm looking for advice. Have you ever dealt with this sort of thing before? How should I handle all of this? Am I a horrible person for feeling all this stress? How can I make the best of this? Additional information from OP's comments. He looks for work based on what his wife says. I've emailed him with very detailed suggestions to fix his resume and LinkedIn profile because based on what I see, I wouldn't hire him in a million years. I want to work out some accountability solution for him, but he simply ignores me. They applied for assistance, so they'll get around $800 a month for groceries. She does cook occasionally and clean often, which is a big deal because her kids make horrendous messes. This is all taking a toll on my house. She's looked for a job, but I honestly don't see how it could work. She's got 3 kids to take care of, and 2 of them aren't in school. My mother even offered to pay for her first year of college to prepare her for a real career of her own. She passed. My wife has been very sympathetic to sister-in-law's situation, but yesterday, when we sat down to evaluate our budget, her eyes were opened. I don't want to make it seem like it's an us versus sister-in-law type situation, but my wife is prepared to stand with me to fix this, no matter what it means. Frankly, I also think she would rather get a part-time job than take care of her sister's kids. She's already pitching in so much that she's just as stressed as I am. My wife handles it much better than I do, though. I am also starting to change my mind about how their family got into this situation. My sister-in-law isn't lazy, but she's completely deluded about her husband, and in my mind, she's sharing equal blame for the state of their family. She heard us doing budget numbers yesterday and saw the look on our faces. She knows her family is a financial burden now. We're going to make all of this official in a conversation where we lay down some rules and start working on our exit plan. My family is definitely at a disadvantage thanks to hers. The only way we'll survive them is by tightening our belts, and the only way I see any of that ending is getting them out. This thread has really helped us in formulating a plan, which is going to include a timeline for her to get a job, pay us a minor monthly fee to cover some of these expenses, and a timeline for her to move out. Alright, well apparently the community did help OP, considering the additional information we got was all about having a plan to get her out, and OP's wife is on his side, so that's a good thing. So now, let's move on to the final update to see how this story ends. I always treated my sister-in-law as if she was a victim of her husband's laziness. 2 months after they moved in, we did our finances and realized we were in serious trouble with all of these new expenses. A lot of people probably think you simply buy a little extra food for your house guests, but the costs are so much higher than I ever expected. Our food bills went up by at least $600 a month just to keep them fed on a basic diet. Energy costs soared. Once my wife finally realized that they would financially devastate our family, we put a plan into effect to change things. Step 1 was choosing to see my sister-in-law as just as much the culprit of her situation as her husband. We put together a plan with dates, requiring her to apply for food and financial assistance from the state where we live. We added dates for her to prepare a resume, start job interviews, and get a job. We even had dates down the line where we expected her to start paying us $200 a month to help defray the costs. The moment we sat down with her to lay down the law, she lost her crap. She started crying. She started accusing us of trying to separate her from her kids like we'd separate her from her husband. She threw a fit, locked herself in her room, and generally made us feel evil for trying to get her to take some responsibility for her life. We didn't budge, and I give my wife a lot of credit for that. I made sure she knew we needed to be on the same page before we went into that discussion, and she stuck with me. My sister-in-law reluctantly started working on our checklist. She really dragged her feet though. At the first sign of resistance to getting food assistance, she abandoned the process and started lying to us about the progress she was making. She lied a lot actually. Since they're broke due to being lazy, they have developed defense mechanisms like lying that whatever they say to excuse their situation barely even registers to them as wrong anymore. She eventually got a part-time minimum wage job working at a fabric store. That, of course, meant that my wife, and occasionally me, had to take care of her kids while she worked. It was a bloody nightmare to be honest. Her kids were vicious hellions, and we had a lot of personality conflicts. My 7-year-old daughter started to lose it due to the stress of having her cousins always around. Remember that calendar I mentioned with our expectations for my sister-in-law to get her act together? Aside from getting a job, she didn't do anything else we required. She never got food or financial assistance from state programs. Once or twice she got some food assistance from a church organization, but that was a drop in the bucket overall. She just stopped trying. During the course of the 5 months or so that they lived with us, her husband moved to a nearby city in our metro area to find a job. Despite having zero prospects and not really looking, it was as if their concept of hard work was so low that they thought they were actually trying very hard by job hunting just 15 minutes per day. And they lied about it all the time. We knew they weren't really putting in much effort, but they tried their damnedest to convince us otherwise. After her husband moved to a nearby city, he was suddenly finding every excuse he could to hang around my house. Sometimes it was using my printer to print up his laughable resume, which might as well have been written in crayon. Sometimes it would be to use our computer to submit a resume. It wasn't hard to see through their plan. They were trying to get him to move in with us. Things got incredibly hostile in our house, and we had to lay down the law again. He couldn't come to our house unless we invited him, and that brought on a lot of accusations, like why were we trying to keep the kids' dad from seeing them, and we were breaking the law by doing that. We in fact encouraged him to spend time with his kids, just not at our house. It was stressing us out to the breaking point. I had to start taking antidepressants to get my nerves under control. Her baby cried through the night and their mother would ignore it until my wife, who is a saint, would get up and comfort the kid and put it back to sleep. And then at 5 a.m. her kids would wake up my daughter, and every day I woke up to the sounds of them fighting. Their kids destroyed my beautiful house. They'd do destructive things, leave gouges in the drywall, break stuff, and other stuff I don't even have the energy to write about. In short, it was a giant freaking mess. We got lucky after 5 months. My father-in-law, who they used to live with until he had to move to another state, had the people renting his house move out. He allowed my sister-in-law and her family to move back into his house, and her husband finally found a job in that city. They had to borrow money from family. We say borrow, but everyone knows the money will never be repaid. To get a moving truck and pay for gas, and we had to chip in when they still came up a few $100 short. We got them packed up and told them to never come back and waved goodbye. After the dust settled, the things that stick with me is guilt for how I felt about it all. I feel guilty that I put our finances above extended family. I feel guilty about how amazing it is to have my life back and have them out of my hair. I feel guilty knowing that they are probably not paying my father-in-law the agreed upon rent for his house and that they are going to destroy his place again. My advice to anyone in that same situation, don't let them move in. You're in for so much more pain and suffering than you think you are. You cannot fix them. People who won't help themselves are locusts, and if you try to help them, they'll hate you for it. And if you have no choice but to let them move in, establish a contract and make them stick to it. If they simply can't be bothered to help their own kids after 10 years of marriage, they're not going to care about the consequences. They'll stay in your house doing nothing until you evict them, and they'll hate you for that too. There's no way to win in a situation like this. Help them if you can, but never make their situation your situation. Don't let them into your house, not even for one night. As soon as they get into your house, they have you, and they won't let go until they've sucked your bones dry. I got lucky because without my father-in-law, there would have been no light at the end of the tunnel. We would have been supporting them until we died of exhaustion or were locked up in a mental institution. Just don't let them in, please. Help from afar. Extended from OP's comments, I forgot to mention that my wife got a part-time job to help out with the finances. She was not only working during the day, she was taking care of her nephew and nieces 4 or 5 nights a week. My wife is an amazing woman. Honestly, our finances would have been fine if it weren't for the medical bills I have due to my knee problems. But since I am in mountains of medical debt, finances became quite strained and will be for a while. But now we're in a position to catch up and I'll be forever grateful to my father-in-law for that. I just wish I'd seen that she was a barnacle too. Things really changed when we realized that she would use us for all we were worth. I'm surprised we were actually able to make her get a job, but I am under no illusions that we were able to change her behavior in the long term. Wow, OP, that was some torture roller coaster you put us through. I'd say the silver lining is that your wife now actually sees her sister for who she is. Other than that, at this point, I just feel sorry for your father-in-law. But that's a different issue, and regarding yours, they are out of your hair. So all the best in the future, OP, and take care. And now let's move on to a quick mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user EconomyGrapefruit32. Want to sign an accident statement? Be my guest. This happened some months after I got my driver's license. I, at the time 19 female, was driving through an 8-lane roundabout when a car struck me. This is a horrible roundabout with lots of traffic, very fast, and there are no lines on the ground to see who crossed who. Anyway, I get out to see the damage and the guy driving the other car comes out screaming at me, cursing and yelling that I am a stupid girl. It's my first accident and I'm scared and almost want to cry from the shock of the accident, but my little cousin is in the car and I don't want to scare her. As I'm walking around trying to take pictures of the car, the guy keeps yelling at me that it's my fault. He threatens to call the police and have me arrested because I am a danger. He says how he will tell them that he was going straight and I was turning. He keeps repeating it until I realize what he is saying. Driving straight on a roundabout? Cue Malicious Compliance. I tell him not to worry with the police. He is completely right. He was just going straight and it was me who was going around. Let's sign an accident statement. He is immediately on board, writes it, and signs. Later, at the insurance office, they told me they don't normally have such easy cases. My damages were paid in full, and they even gave me a replacement car while mine was getting repaired. Wow, nothing to say, OP, just beautiful, fantastic, malicious compliance. Well done. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I really did enjoy reading them to you. So if you did, then don't be shy and go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe or even share this video with people that you might think will enjoy my storytelling. Also, if you have the time, go down to the video description and check out all the links I have for you, from our Discord community to my channel merch. And finally, I'd like to say thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me that you enjoy my videos. And having said all that, I'll see you guys in the next video.